What's up, fam? Dr. O here, and I've been thinking a lot about what it says on the Washington Post website that democracy dies in darkness. And I've always had something just never felt right. It never sat right with me when people said that, because when you look at what happens, democracy dies right in front of you. It dies in broad daylight. And as I'm thinking about democracy and its death, I'm thinking about what's happening right now in Florida with Ron DeSantis and his cronies there, or whatever you want to call them. I'm thinking about how they're trying to pass a law to, I believe it's called the Ultimate Cancel Act, to ban the Democratic Party. And I'm looking at everything else that they've done in terms of the Don't Say Gay bills, trying to not have African American AP literature history be taught. I'm thinking about what other programs they've done to make sure that people are not able to celebrate their sexuality and be out. I'm thinking about these Republicans who say that they are pro-business, but how he's working to destroy Disney, and how he's created his own electoral police force, and how they went out there and arrested people who had the right to vote, or people who thought they had the right to vote, in order to make an example, and many of them were black. This is how democracy dies. And I'm thinking about how many people are going along with it. This is how democracy dies. I think about all the actions that Trump rode into office on, because he had no supreme talent other than the culture wars and being able to divide people, and talking about what he was going to be able to remove from people. I'm thinking about how this is supposed to be the 50th year of Roe v. Wade, and that right was taken away from people. Democracy dies in darkness. No, that is not true. Democracy dies right in front of you, day by day, incrementally, bit by bit. It dies with the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and Matt Gaetzes of the world, because they are part of an ongoing insurrection. The insurrection was not just January 6th. That was the highest manifestation of it for us to see, but it's now they have levers of power. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling for civil war or divorce from the country, from the red and blue states. People look at her as a joke. And now she could be a vice presidential candidate in 2024. Democracy doesn't die in darkness. It dies right in front of us. And people want to say, oh, we can't get out here and compare what they're doing to people like Hitler. And they're like, well, if you can't compare the actions of what Hitler did, then you're never learning the lessons of what he did. Sure, Trump and Green and these others are not putting people in concentration camps, but we're talking about the earlier stages, the incremental things that Hitler did, like taking over the media and not getting in with more than a third of the vote, and convincing people in his community there that as long as they can look down on other people, he can get away with anything they want. You got to look at signs, because history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And you got to be able to see that every single day. Also now in Florida, they're looking at putting out some legislation or some type of program where bloggers have to register if they're talking about DeSantis. This is democracy dying in the light of day. And sure, DeSantis is the flavor of the month in terms of what we're talking about, but this is happening all across the country. In Tennessee, an amendment to capital punishment, a legislator says, I would like to add hanging by a tree as part of the forms of execution. People want to bring it all back. Democracy is something that if you don't use it, you lose it. And so all of us who've been out there fighting the good fight, we got to keep on fighting. For those of us who have been complacent, how many more of your rights do you have to see lost? How many things that you've been able to experience do you have to see your children and grandchildren not be able to experience before you decide to wake up? If you don't use it, you lose it. And we are losing it right now. We need all hands on deck to demand respect, to get out there and fight. Because if we don't, it will be over before we know it. And many of us already don't recognize this country as it is right now. A year from now, 2 years from now, without real action, we are not going to be able to recognize it at all. So in closing, I just want to give you 4 steps of what you should be doing to help take yourself to the next level. I talk a lot in my book, Grow Towards Your Greatness, GROW, about give, release, overcome, and win. But I've also been talking about LEAD, which stands for listen, educate, advocate, and decide, because this is what we all need to do as leaders. As leaders, we need to learn how to listen. If you don't know what's going on, listen to what people are saying out there. The Roland Martins of the world, the Rachel Maddows of the world, the Joe Madisons, the Karen Hunters, the list goes, the Joyanne Reeds. Listen to what they're saying. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We have to use them in proportion. So commit to doing more listening than you do talking. Then you got to start educating yourself. What's on your reading list? What's on your podcast list? What's on your documentary list? There are so many ways to learn, but some of us are just going to the same sports networks, the same websites, the same soap opera channels, the same, and just entertaining ourselves. No, you want to get out there and be an upstander and not a bystander. You have to commit to learning. The book that I wrote called Lies About Black People, How to Combat Racist Stereotypes and Why It Matters, which is coming out the summer here of 2023. I wrote that for those who only scratch the surface about Black Lives Matter and racial stereotypes, but want to do more. Get out there and get books like that are going to help you. You got to educate yourself. Everyone's talking about critical race theory, but about 20% of the people talking about it know what it actually is. If that, you have to be part of that 20% because people are building their platforms off of ignorance. We got a man like Tucker Carlson who willingly admitted to lying. It's the #1 rated show. Is put out there by a liar. Then you got to advocate. You got to commit to just want to get out there and give a damn about something. Use your platform to help people. I don't care if you have 1 follower or 10 million followers. Everybody has the power to speak up for other people. Use your voice as a positive platform. And then lastly, you just got to decide. You got to decide that this is how you're going to go down in life. You are going to go down as an upstander and not a bystander. You are going to get out there and help everybody create a community where we can all be celebrated and not tolerated. If it is meant to be, it is up to you. So listen, educate, advocate, decide. And that's how society is going to grow towards its greatness. Democracy, as I started this out with, it does not die in darkness. It is dying every single day, second by second, minute by minute. One law passes, then they add to it. One piece of legislation passes, then they add to it. They're coming for us in every way, shape, or form. They tend to start with Black people because they feel like people can get away with going after Black people, then they come for everybody else. So why wait till they come for you if you don't happen to be part of the Black community? Get out there, y'all. This is Dr. Omékongo Dibinga. I hope this is informative to you. Feel free to follow me on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all these social media platforms. I love to connect with you, and I would love to work with you in your organizations if you find this to be informative. You can also go and learn more at www.omekongo.com, www.omekongo.com. And remember, family, why settle for outstanding when you can be upstanding? Peace.